You're listening to episode 114 of the Super League Pod, coming up on your favourite rugby league podcast. We've got all your feedback and shout-outs. Young Mark outs some of the local doggers from Lytham St Anne's. We take some time to figure out the original lineup of Liberty X, and we devote about 5 minutes to sorting out Keegan Hurst's love life as well, along with all the news that you've come to expect from around the world of rugby league, and a loving look back at the most recent action from the Super 8. Strap yourselves in, it's time for your podcast with your views, the Super League Pod. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to episode 114 of the Super League Pod. As always, I'm Tom, and I'm joined by Wigan fan extraordinaire Mark Illingworth with me in the podcast studio to cast a loving eye over the world of rugby league this week. Mark, how's it going?
Good.
Had a good week?
Yeah, it's been fun.
You've been a busy chap. You've been here, there, and everywhere, from what I can see on Facebook.
Well, I've been in the northeast this weekend.
How was it?
Well, the wife's a big fan of Full Steam Ahead. I don't know if you're aware of it. It's a programme where...
unaware of it.
It's a TV programme. They look at the past railway age type stuff. Did you ever watch... Have you ever heard of... Because you won't have watched it.
I like the way you're reframing your questions.
There was
bearing in mind it's me.
There was like Victorian Farm, Edwardian Farm, Wartime Farm.
I think I remember the Wartime Farm.
Yeah. Well, it's the people who did that have now done this thing. But so Emma's been big into that, and that inspired her to want to go to Beamish,
which is a tremendous day out.
Yeah. So we stayed for a night in Durham. We had a little bit of walk around Durham in the drizzle on Saturday. Took in the cathedral. We couldn't go to the castle because there was a wedding on there. Walked around a bit, had a few beers and stuff, and that was fine. And then on yesterday, we spent the full day. We got there at opening time at 10 o'clock, and we didn't leave till gone 4.
That's fantastic.
Bit busy, long day there. So seeing everything, getting involved in it all.
What can you do at Beamish then?
It's like
on the agenda?
It's all set up for a living museum of the past sort of thing. Okay. So they've got an old pit town, so you can go down a mine shaft. You can see some of what the works they would have got up to in terms of mining, and you can see like a school from that time, a church, village hall, that sort of stuff. And that's sort of 1900s to just before the pre-war sort of era,
right?
And then they've got a town, same era, that's all set up. It's got a bank, a baker's, a sweet shop,
right,
where they make their own sweets, a pub. It's got the lot really.
A working pub, like a...
yeah. All the people are like that work there are dressed up and stuff. They don't. They sort of play to the characters a little bit, but they tell you what they're doing and why they're doing it, and that sort of stuff. So
there's no one going, "Oh, what are you doing in these strange garments, man from the future?" and things like that.
It's not quite that. No, not quite that silly. Then they have a wartime farm there.
All right.
Emma was like just jealous of all the farm girls' clothing and all the.
She would pretty much do a fancy dress.
The way the house was decorated and stuff, the cottages. And then they have a bit from the very, very early age of the railways, where you go on a wagon, a steam wagon, from 1821, I think that's from. Wow. And they've started to expand that bit a little bit, because there was an old sort of house there, but now they've expanded a bit, put a church in there. That's a relatively new thing. They're apparently building a new bit that's going to be like a 1950s prefab town. That's the next thing to be done there.
Right.
That looks pretty cool. Yeah.
Fascinating.
It was good. It was good. It was a good day.
Have I just preempted your SLP recommends a little bit, or
no, not really.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure most people in the north have heard of Beamish, and
Yeah.
if you've not been there on a school trip, last time I went there was when I was about 13 on a school trip.
Yeah.
But if you've not been there with your kids, or it's somewhere definitely for the Hodge to take Scarlett to to continue their making memories of things she can't possibly remember.
Hodgson Don put a lovely video up on Facebook of like little pictures and videos and stuff that he's taken of Scarlett in the first few months of her life. Sorry about that. For clarity's sake, there's a piece of gunge on the glass that I've just put you drinking.
It's alright.
I do apologise. It's probably just spinach, if that helps. I'm not sure how it would do. There used to be... we didn't do the school trip to Beamish, but I have been as a kid. But when I was at school over in West Yorkshire, they did a trip to like an industrial museum, and they sat you in like a Victorian classroom.
Yeah.
And I got in not really big trouble, but comparatively so, for using my left hand, because apparently during the Victorian era one was meant to write with one's right hand.
Oh yeah.
And
Witches.
I didn't get the ducking still. I've emerged unscathed, but I was stood up in front of the class by this fucking actor. I remember being fuming at the time and not being able to quite verbalise, why I was upset. But I remember feeling quite indignant that this clown shoe. So I just want to.
When actually, what he was doing was telling you all a lesson, a story,
showing you how it was.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was like, "You prick."
Yeah, definitely.
So, yes, but no, I like those interactive historical things. That's really cool. And you made it up and down okay, and the weather was all right for you. Everything.
Well, it wasn't great, but we did the trip.
You survived.
Yeah.
Good stuff. How
about you?
Nothing quite so interesting. My Friday night was not safe for podcasting. Saturday night, a couple of drinks with some of the lads from work, and on Sunday I won't give too much away because it sort of leads into my SLP recommends, but it did involve a good deal of hangover recovery. So that's kind of been the debauched story of my weekend. And I'm on holiday for 2 weeks now. I'm on annual leave now for a couple of weeks because today was Erin's last day at nursery, and that was quite emotional for everybody except Erin.
Did she just sort of not understand that nothing was going on?
Not even close to asked. Like I took a little present in a card, and I penned a little letter to the lady that runs the nursery because they'd done such a lovely job with her. And I went and picked her up, and went in. We gave her the little bag with the biscuits and the chocolates in, and got to give them to the woman. And she was like, "These are for you." That was about it, really. And I was talking away to them and saying thank you and all that lot, and we've been building Erin up for this, me and her mum, like saying, "Oh, Monday's going to be last day, and
trying to make her think it was as important as you two, obviously.
Just also making her prepared for it so that it doesn't come as a shock as well. So yeah, and we did all that, and she sort of said bye, and she wasn't really bothered. She gave him sort of perfunctory cuddles and stuff, and brought her back and got her, and she looked up for me about 5 minutes into her tea tonight and went, "Am I at nursery tomorrow?" It's like, no, you're not at nursery. So that's about it, really.
What did come as a shock was the pictures of her in a school uniform. That makes that very real, doesn't it?
She's very grown up, isn't she? She's really excited about starting school, which I'm pleased about. It makes things a lot easier than if she was frightened or worried. So yeah, no, she's growing up. Right, shall we crack on with the podcast?
Who knows? You and Lindsay might have produced like an emotionally mature
between us.
It's
to be honest with you, if you keep me and Lindsay separate, we're perfectly capable of behaving in an emotionally mature fashion and interacting with each other for specific periods of time, or we don't just wind each other up into rages and blind fury. So yeah, I think maybe it's the way to go. It's this whole new concept of parenting I'm trying. Right, who's been getting in touch with us this week, Mark?
We'll start with Chris Macy. This is in no particular order, really. I just threw them in when I got time to. Chris Macy at Medway Bronco 88. It's a great podcast as always, guys. Love the mention for London Origin series, but that's where those differences end. As gotta say, I'm definitely a Southern fan, and saw that 7 lads from my local Medway Dragons have been selected across the team, so big congrats to those guys. Yeah, congratulations to anyone who's involved with that's been selected. Yeah. You're at the pinnacle of your group and area, aren't you? So congratulations to you all. Alan Walker said, great app. Not surprised that Wigan fans do dogging in the daytime stops them getting lost, I suppose. Ooh. Controversial stuff. I'm not aware of any Wigan fans that are doggers. I think things get taken out. How many doggers are you aware of? That's a good point. No. None.
None to 5.
So, you know where we live on the Fylde coast, there's a place called Fairhaven Lake. I'm not sure if people relatively local to the northwest who listen to the show will be familiar with it.
Hang on, if you're going to spoil some very precious memory for me and said that Fairhaven Lake gets used by doggers,
oh yeah,
I quit the podcast.
Yeah, so when we were
kidding,
when we were say, late teens, sort of sixth form age, and we'd go for a walk
dogging
of a night to find a quiet spot that's maybe not going to get us in trouble.
What the fuck are you on about?
Smoking and drinking,
oh,
that
right,
sort of stuff.
Right, okay, God. I wonder why you were attacking us with this.
We'd go down there.
Right.
And we wouldn't call them doggers. I don't think if we knew what the concept of dogging was at 17 years old. What we called them was shaggers in the dark.
Shaggers in the dark?
Yeah. So one time, one of my mates bought one of those million candlelight torches, you know, the big, massive spotlight torches you can get.
Right.
And, they'd go walking late at night.
And,
past...
light them up?
In the winter, past there, and just flash the massive torches at the cars, yeah. And if they got out, they'd just shout shaggers in the dark at them.
And then run.
And then they'll like it, yeah.
What great maturity. I had no idea that it was so close to
Well, we were,
17.
Yeah, 16, 17-year-old kids.
Pissed away, I suppose. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
You've literally taught me more about dogging in the last 30 seconds than I really had. I mean, obviously I understood it as a concept, but we're now in danger of turning it into the Super League dog podcast, aren't we, really? So let's move on.
Cutthroat Jake said, first day back in the office and listening to Super League Pod. Didn't expect this week's in Olympics coverage.
Yes, well, that's finished now, isn't it? So
we're going to have a wrap-up, though, aren't we? Shall we do that at the end of the show? Talk about closing thoughts of the Olympics? Because I've got lots to discuss from the last week of the game.
I've really only got a couple of bits, but yeah, that's fine. We can definitely do that.
Yeah? Yeah,
absolutely.
Right, look forward to that, kids. Dave Cantrell, he said, "Gentleman's gravy, question mark, exclamation mark, question mark, exclamation mark. You bastard, you owe me a new keyboard because I just spat coffee all over this one."
Well, there you go.
I hope
I dropped that one in, dropped it in there just as a little nugget to see if anyone would get it. We got it. I've got my beer out.
Yep. Okay. Dom Hodgson, he says, you can hear the hurt in Tom's voice when Mark says Corrie is rubbish. Hashtag too far, Mark. Hashtag cross the line.
I haven't watched Coronation Street in about 15 years, I have to be honest. So, Since
you could have porn rather than Tanya Battersby or whatever.
Tanya Battersby?
That's just a name that came into my head. I don't know if it's a real Battersby.
I think you mean Toya Battersby, and probably not, Mark. Probably not. But Michelle Keegan, she was in Corrie, wasn't she?
That was after the time that I watched it, so I don't know. No, she was in that after. She was in whatever made her famous, Liberty X or something.
She wasn't in Liberty X.
She was in one of them.
Michelle Keegan wasn't in a Liberty X, but you're thinking of Michelle McManus, that big fat Scottish lass.
She wasn't in Coronation Street or Liberty X.
Well, Michelle Keegan wasn't in Liberty X.
Well, there's someone that was in one of them that went in to be Kim Marsh. That's who I'm thinking.
Kim Marsh is lovely.
That's who I was thinking of.
Kim Marsh. I won't let a word said against Kim Marsh. She's a delight.
I'm just exactly showing off how well I know Coronation Street of the last 10 years. There.
Yeah. It's Emmerdale. That's the one you don't slag off. That's the Yorkshire one. It is.
You need to lose this
pride of my county.
Well, it's just too much. It feels like fake with Yorkshire people because they take it so far. It baffles me.
Well, we've got a lot to be proud of, Mark.
That's the thing. Understand. You obviously haven't, but you're still trying to overcome this complex from losing to a much smaller county with a smaller army. When it came to
we don't have the listenership for you to do this. I think what we should do is just remain neutral. Not geographically neutral.
No, we don't have to be. We don't have to be neutral in things where there's natural balance already provided by the two of us.
Fair enough. What I mean? Yes. We're very, very proud to be from very proud to be from Greater Manchester, aren't you, Mark? So.
No, I'm from Lancashire.
All right, you're making a big show of Greater Manchester on Facebook the other day with that post.
I was just sharing something that I thought was curious and interesting. And I didn't know. I didn't look into it enough to see if what Greater Manchester were doing was, taking people that are not from their county whatsoever at all and claiming them as being from there just because they've won a medal. So I didn't know if that's what the Greater Manchester community was doing. Although it was part of Lancashire, when we won the war. But we'll...
You gotta let the war go, man.
Well, I'm not the one who's trying to overcompensate it for all these years.
Give peace a chance. We've got all the beautiful land.
Paul...
You can come and visit any time you want.
We let other people take land for themselves, like I've told you before. This is what I've explained to you. We're all about sharing it out. That's why Cumberland